Guys, before we begin today's session, let me tell this very clearly that if you haven't gone through the part one of this series, like I've done a video last day where I discussed how can you crack prelims in 180 days with smart preparation, where we have discussed multiple dimensions, starting from how you're covering the syllabus and a plan and the patterns of questions that they used to ask. Multiple things have been covered. So you need to go through that once, because what we will be decoding today, like what we'll do is we'll look at latest UPSC patterns. In fact, I've covered that briefly there, and the mains linked approach and the test series strategy. Whatever we are going to discuss today will make perfect sense only if you have understood the foundation part from the previous video. So that's the foundation, and if you have gone through that, it's perfectly fine. Otherwise, go through that before watching this. Anyway, that's your choice. I just told you I'll update that video in the description, and I'll give that in the pin comment section also. So let's get started. Let's try to understand the very latest pattern, 2023 to 2025 trends. We discussed 2011 to 2025. So let me go more specific. Over the last 3 years, I'm talking about 23, 24, 25. So history repeats, right? That's why 26, we need to make a plan. See, over the last 3 years, UPSC has evolved its questions, right, in terms of its design. Very interesting ways is what you see, multiple twisters there. So if you can understand the way UPSC evolved, your preparation also will evolve, or you will also evolve, right? Broadly, the questions can be grouped into 5 major patterns, and you need to know this. So I'll come with multiple twists also towards the end. Now, there are direct questions, which are very simple. And then there are two statement questions like type 1 and type 2. And then there are multi-statement questions, right? 3, 4, 5, 6 statements, and 3 statement explanation type question. That's the new pattern. That's why I told you, if you haven't gone through the previous session where I have discussed all these with examples, but here, since we already covered it, if I take it, it is going to take a lot of time. Then the purpose of this video will be not met. In this video, I have to do another video. So these explanation won't be there. So I'm just referring to. So when I say two statement question, you know that it is discussed, or otherwise you should be knowing what is it. Multi-statement questions, that everyone know. And 3 statement explanation type questions, that the new pattern in 2023. And then of course, the best one, the elimination-based question. So let's decode each one and see how they have changed also. Okay. So if you look at the direct question, see, what are the direct question means? Directly, straightforward, either conceptually direct or in terms of factual direct, right? So direct questions are like where the answer itself lies in the options. Directly, you will see A, B, C, D. So again, there are conceptually direct and there are factually direct. So when I'm talking about conceptually direct, like they'll ask you what is balance of payment. This is one of the questions which has been asked in 2013. I'm going from 2011 to, right, we are trying to understand the evolution. So that's an example. And factual direct, like in our prelims, this test series also, when we started, Fahim, the Chinese pilgrim, visited India during whose time, whose reign. So that is like direct question. So one is factually direct and the other is conceptually direct. So these are straightforward questions. If you have read it, you will be able to answer it. If you can recall it, you will be able to answer it. Otherwise, no. And in such kind of question, it's very kind of very much that it meet that objectiveness, right? Because either you know it or you don't know it. If you have read it, you can conceptual questions. If you have read it, you can recollect and you can do factual question. Only if you retain, you will be able to get that. So here elimination won't work, right? So because this straightforward A, B, C, D, one of that is going to be your answer. So there is no question of eliminating one statement or anything. It's a direct. So attempt them only if you are certain, 100% if you know that. Only in that cases these questions will attempt. There are no other discussion need to be done on this. Either you know or you don't know. If you know it, pick that one. If you don't know it, no guess, nothing. So here, no probability, nothing is going to work in your favor. Either you know it or you don't know it. 50-50 probability rules will work in later cases that we will discuss. That too, when you will take that questions, also depending upon how much questions you have already attempted. So I'll be discussing all those. Cool. Now, if you look at the trend of these questions, 2019, it is coming down. So 2019, 48 such questions were there direct. That's why the cutoff was high. 2020, 36. 2021, almost 40. And 2023, almost 28 questions. And 2025, last year, 17 questions. So you can see it's consistently coming down. So the pattern is declining. So the easy ones or the objective ones or the classical, conceptual or, factual questions are actually coming down, but still it contribute, 16, 17 question, even if it is 15 questions next year. And if you can make it correct, it is directly contributing minimum 30 marks in your paper, right? So minimum 30 marks contribution is there every year. So if you can master it, it is going to be really good. And you can master it only through standard textbooks and the PYQs. There are repeated questions also in this category. So PYQs are important. And the factual information, if you need to do good, it has to be through the standard textbooks. That's the only way in which you'll master it. So will you attempt this question? Yes, only if you know it. Will you take a chance on this question? No situation you'll take a chance on these questions. Okay, so next one. Now, before that, why I said PYQs are gold? PYQs are pure gold. If you solve PYQ, it's yes, of course, in the previous session, I told you the pattern recognition is more important. When you know the ground, you can play the game well. That's why before cricket and all, there is a pitch report. You need to know in which ground you are playing. You need to know the rules of the game. So pattern recognition is very important, and that will help you to identify UPSC's favorite areas, right? UPSC's mindset. But again, when it comes to previous year questions, the other important aspect is sometimes you will understand the most important topics. Sometimes they'll repeat some topics. For example, in 2016, there was a question and exactly the same repeated in 2025 last year. So if you have someone who have read that or solved the 2016 PYQ, then the moment you see this question, you will connect it and you'll be able to get this. There is no second thought because it's direct, straightforward. In 2016, UPSC asked about, Aragatta. That's a medieval irrigation device. And the same question repeated directly in 2025. So anyone who have solved the 2016 question and hardly one or two questions from medieval India, so you should remember that. So if you have solved the 2016 question, straightforward question, so he will instantly recall that Araghatta is a water wheel used in irrigation, medieval, scenarios, right? So that's a direct answer. That's why I said PYQs are pure gold. It will help you to get some repeated questions. It will help you to analyze their favorite area, important topics. At the same time, it will help you to understand the pattern, the ground you need to know. So that's the power of PYQ. And they reveal both the pattern, the mindset, the themes that repeat across years. So before you start any subject seriously, even before you start preparing for UPSC, go through 2011 to 25 question papers. Every single questions, 15 years, 1500 questions. You'll get a lot from that beyond, the textbooks and everything. But textbooks are again very important. That anyway, there is no point in telling that. Now let's look at pattern one. That's a direct question. Now let's look at the pattern second. That's the two statement questions. These are also somewhat easy. Elimination techniques are kind of will work. Guessing will also work. 50-50 probability scenarios also will work. But it is also coming down. So you will be getting two subtypes, right? So type one, like one only, two only, both, none. So this is type one. This is classic scenario, right? You'll get two statements. So in that, again, two subtypes are there. So imagine statement one, statement two. One is correct, one only is correct, two only is correct, both are correct, none is correct. Classic one. Now, what is the type two? Both correct and two explain one. So here that reasoning part also is coming. So here you need to use that therefore because logic that I explained in the previous video. So I don't have time to explain that in this video. That's how you'll connect it and logically you'll be able to answer. So that's the type, right? Both are correct and two explain one, or both correct, but two does not explain one. So it is like that, explanation part, because therefore logic is also applied. And then the last two will be only one is correct and only two is correct. So only one, only two is there, both correct, but that reasoning part is also coming. And this trend is increasing again. If you see 2023, the type one, the easy one, they asked 2023, I think they asked 7 questions. 2025, they increased because 2023, they surprised it with the other, assertion-based questions, the 3 statement questions where you need to know all the 3 statements, then only you'll be able to answer. And here also type 2 was, I think, more in 2023. So in 2023, the type 1 was 7 less. That's why it was very difficult. and very less cutoff. 2025, they brought it back. It's around 12. Now, if you look at type 2, the one which I've discussed, the reasoning type, it was 18. And that they have reduced because of the difficulty level in 2025, maybe 5. So overall, if you see in 2023, from these two types, 25 questions, 2025, almost 17 questions. So I hope you understood two statement question. There are two types. That is why I said understanding pattern is very important. You cannot go to the actual exam and that time you see the questions types and the pattern. It is very difficult to even recognize and understand what they're asking. You may be knowing the statements and everything, but you're not able to understand what actually they have asked. Both are correct and two is the explanation of one. What? You'll read 2, 3 times and then only you'll understand. That's why it is important to understand the pattern. The moment you see it, yeah, you should be knowing that. Now, see this type 2 type of questions, that assertion reason, right? That was increased in 2023. And in 2023, they introduced a new type also. This 3 statements and all the 3 you should be knowing to answer the question. So what happened? The cutoff went so lower, almost 75. That's the reason. But we in the next year, they have reduced this and they have reduced that also. So, but again, you have to expect next year it can go higher, assertion reason. So practice that assertion reason type. The other one is anyway quite easy. You can make logical guess also. Even assertion question also, logical guess, you can use the because therefore link. So if statement 2 logically explains statement 1, that's option A. If both are true but not explanatory, that's when option B. If one is false, either option C or D. So if you know one is false, then A and B is ignored. It's either C or D. So 50-50 possibilities. If you know one is wrong, right? Then 50, if you know both are correct, then also 50-50 possibilities there. Cool. So here, if you know one of the statement, or if you have some idea, if you know one is wrong, then you have a 50-50. In the previous case also, that possibility is there. Guys, remember, UPSC rarely keep both wrong simultaneously. Very rarely. So that is again one of the loophole, or where I want to check my luck, because I'm not able to complete my paper. I just stuck with 55-60 questions. I want to increase. That is the scenarios where I use this kind of logic. PSC rarely use both wrongs simultaneously like that. So there are multiple such kind of scenarios also that we need to discuss, but that's slightly subjective. Let's talk about objective things in the beginning. Okay, and then comes to these are final refinements that we need to do towards the end. Once we're done with whatever you need to do perfectly, these are after doing everything perfectly, still you're not able to meet that 70-75 questions that we need to attempt. Then we need to take some other steps also, right? Like this, you need to guess that UPSC rarely keep two wrong answers. So it could be either one or two, but I still don't know. Still, I have 50-50 possibility. Then I take 50, because if I attempt 10 questions, 5 will be correct. If such kind of, 50-50 possibilities there, 5 correct, 5 wrong, still I'll be getting 10 mark on the correct, and, to 3.33 is something what I'll be losing. So ultimately I'll end up with anyway 6 mark, even if I take a chance. Okay. Now, anyway, let's look at the type 3, the pattern 3. Multi-statement questions. It could be only one, only two, all three, none of them. Those are toughest and the most analytical pattern. In 2023, there were 47 such questions, the highest ever. And that's why the cutoff crashed to 75, the lowest cutoff. And in 2025, they have reduced it to 27. Like in the case of assertion question also, they have reduced. Here also, they have reduced. So that doesn't mean that they will reduce it further. It can increase, because in 2023 it was 47, 24 it was around 16, 17, but 25 it is 27. So they brought it to 16 and then increased to 27. It could be 40 in the next year. So the problem was in these, if you get this type of question, you must know every statement. Here, partial knowledge. There is no question of intelligent guess or calculated guess or knowledge-based guess. Nothing. If you know this, all the 3 statements, then you will be able to answer. That's the kind of trap. I'm not repeating that options, because first, I've already explained in the previous video. Second, I'm expecting that you should be knowing these types of patterns now. Okay, so in 2026, what we are expecting is UPSC may again oscillate. You can expect 20-30 questions of this format. So what's the preparation strategy? For each topic, you need to prepare short sheets, which is covering the important points. like the definition and then the mechanism. So these are, the important points that you'll be checking later. So definition, then you'll go with mechanisms, the exceptions, the year, the institution, data range. Each topic should be prepared in that way. So it's slightly, because anyway that effort is there, then only this kind of questions you can answer. If you miss one, if you don't know one fact or one point from that particular topic, then there is no point in preparing that topic if they're asking this type of questions, right? So that's the scenario. So like I can prepare any topic, but if I don't know one point of that and they're asking that connected to that in that question with the other two and everything I know, but I just don't know this or I don't have clarity, I can't answer that because the guess won't work here. Cool. Now the fourth pattern. This is a three statement explanation that's introduced in 2024. So only one question, but in 2025, there were around 9 questions. So this is something which introduced in 2020. You can see what I'm talking about is the evolution. In 2023, they have introduced one pattern and reduced to 47 questions, 17 questions in the next year. Next year, 27 questions. It can be 40 in the next year. Now this pattern 4, that's the three statement explanation questions. That's the new one in 2024. I've explained in the previous video and go through that question paper if you want to see. I don't have time or, it's very difficult to explain, or I'll quickly go through that. That I've already explained about fiscal deficit question, right? So only one question in 2024 when it introduced, unlike 23 when introduced 47 question, everyone got surprised. So 24, there was no such surprise, but they asked 9 questions in 2025. But when you saw the pattern, you got prepared for 2025. 2025, it was not a surprise. 24, yes. But once you understood the pattern, then there is no problem. So here, statement 1 is correct, and you must decide which of statement 2 and statement 3 are correct and whether they explain statement 1, right? I hope you got it. You will have 3 statements, right? And the statement 1 will be correct, and you have to decide which of statement 2 and 3 are correct. First, you need to tell whether statement 2 or statement 3 is correct from the 2, and whether this explain the statement 1 also. For example, in 2025, economy, there is a question, statement 1, fiscal deficit widened in financial year 2025. That's correct. Statement 2, capital expenditure increased. Statement 3, tax collection declined. So here the choices, test which statement explain S1. That's the idea that you need to have. So S1 is correct. You need to decide between S2 and S3, whether capital expenditure is increased or tax collection declined. Which one is correct? And then whether S2, S3 is explaining S1. Right? So again, of course, UPSC may alter the option. We have multiple permutation combination here itself, you can see, right? If this question is asked, multiple permutation combination is there. So it's not exact. That's what I cover in my pattern workshops. So I've already mentioned that I'll conduct a 2-day pattern workshops where we'll discuss all possible scenarios of patterns, and that we will do it separately. So they can alter the options next time. Don't expect exactly the same. That's a foolish thing that you're assuming the uniform pattern, similar pattern they'll ask. Read every option carefully, and they can change the way they ask also. Cool. Now, next one, pattern 5, that classic elimination-based question, the most scoring type, because here is where the logic works. So if you can identify even one incorrect answer, you can mostly arrive to the correct answer. And in 2023, they have not asked any such questions, right? 24, they have asked 30 questions. Earlier, they used to ask a lot of such questions, and we used to crack with this type of questions mostly. 25 also, they have asked 30. So that's why you can see 24 and 25, the cutoff was higher again, close to 90. 23, they have not asked this question. They introduced another one and they asked 47 questions from that. So cutoff crashed to 75. So always practice elimination deliberately and, focus on these keywords, absolute words, strong tones, only, always, all, never. Okay. And ministry mismatches. For example, RBI versus finance ministry, like that. With that, you'll be able to do it. Because when you're dealing mostly with the social sciences, you cannot have absolute words. Strong tones you cannot have, right? Now, one point. I told you already, you are not preparing prelims and mains in isolation. It's not that you crack prelims and then you prepare for mains. No, it should be integration. So the true path is when you start preparation, the core subjects, that's what you cover because that's part of both GS1, GS2, GS3. In that, you have history, geography, polity, economy, environment, ecology, science and tech. These are common areas. In that itself, most importantly, history, geography, polity, economy. So the truth that few people only follow that this kind of approach. So if you study only for prelims, what happens is your depth remains shallow and you get stuck in prelims also because they test your conceptual understanding, they test your depth. At that time you'll get stuck. But if you study like each core subject from mains point of view, right, then you go in depth and you know the subject in breadth wise also and in depth wise also, so that prelims becomes easy, right? So why? Because see, conceptual clarity is built for mains. That will directly help you to decode these assertion reason questions. If they are asking such kind of questions, if you prepare simply for prelims, it is slightly difficult, right? So if you prepare for mains and then you find these kinds of questions, then it is easy, right? Assertion based questions, this reason based questions, explanation question, right? This one explain that, like that questions, and the conceptual direct questions also. So when you prepare for 2026, prepare like this, cover the entire main syllabus of each of the GS subjects, especially the core subjects, and solve previous year questions from 2011 or at least from 2013 or from 2015 to 20 last 10 years, and then solve, if possible, right? Prelims PYQs on the same topic. So see, reading mains, it's very easy, right? Three papers. Ethics you ignore as of now. Three papers you take, 20, 20, 20, 60 questions, last 10 year. Just go through that. You'll get multiple areas, diverse areas, multiple questions. Ignore some areas like internal security, society questions if you don't want to, but cover everything related to the core subjects for the last 10 year. Then prelims, last 10 year or last 15 year, if possible 15 year, 1500 questions, 1500 topics you cover, and understand your mistakes. Make your error log, which I have explained in the previous session. What to do with that, everything I've covered. And you need to prepare integrated notes combining both prelims and mains, right? Now, what are the core subjects? There are 7 major subjects, right? uh, I'll merge like polity, governance together, history, ancient, medieval, modern together, geography, physical, human together, world and Indian together. So economy, polity, geography, history, and then environment, ecology, science and technology, and then international relation also. So you need to study each first from mains point of view. Then comes prelims angle. Cool. Now, why mains first will help you in 2026? For example, if you talk about economy, mains paper 3 covers topics like growth, budgeting, inflation, employment, infrastructure, etc. So when you prepare for growth, you're covering everything. Inflation, you're covering everything. Demand pull inflation, cost push inflation, the factors and everything, the controlling measures, RBI measures, the fiscal measures, monetary measures, policies, etc. So from prelims point of view, if you see, prelims picks that statement from these areas only. So once you cover like this, whether it is assertion based questions or reason based question or explanation based question, will help you. So if you look at the reason data in 2023, there were 21 questions from economy. And in 24, there were 17 questions from economy. And in 25, 19 questions from economy. So on an average from economy itself, that's a core subject, you're getting 15, 20 questions. That's almost 40 marks on an average. Cool. So if you already written short answers on these topics like fiscal deficit, inflation, external sector, you'll breeze through these assertion, reason, and conceptual direct questions, and it is going to be crazy easy for you. Don't worry about that. Now, coming to Indian culture. See, UPSC mains, GS, it's like this. Indian culture, if you take that topic, it will cover the salient aspect of art forms, literature, architecture from ancient to modern times, ancient, medieval, modern. So that single line produces 2, 3 questions every year in mains, like Harappan architecture, Chola art, religious, syncretism, and then temple sculpture, like that. So the same topics is what appear in prelims also as factual or conceptual as MCQ. So once you prepare that single line, for medieval, ancient, and modern. It's done for prelims also. So prepare ancient, medieval, art and architecture together using both mains and prelims PYQs. Cool. Now geography. If you see GS main, GS1 area it is coming. They're talking about physical geography, resource distribution, industry location, and geomorphic phenomena, right? So that same topics that give almost 10 plus prelims questions every year. So in 2025, 8 questions asked in mains from this area, 8 questions, almost equal to 100 marks from geography. And in 2024, 7 questions, almost like 85 marks. These topics, earthquakes, cyclones, volcanoes, demographic terms, they repeat and they repeated, they overlap. So again, if you go with integrated preparation, that work for both papers. That's why I talk about this integration, core subjects, history, geography, economy, similarly polity also. Now, if you look at subject-wise average, economy, almost, I'll talk about last 3 years. Economy, 2023, they asked 21 questions, 24, 17 questions, 25, 19 questions. On an average, you get 18 to 20 questions from economy. Polity, 23, 16 questions, then 14 and 13. So on an average, 14 to 15 questions. Geography, 10, 12, 9. So on an average, you're getting 10. I'm talking about the last 3 years average. Environment, 12, 11, 10. So on an average, 11 questions. History, culture, 18, 16, 17. So on an average, it's 17 questions. Science and tech, 9, 10, 12. On an average, 11 questions. Current affairs, international relation, 10, 8, 9. So on an average, 9, 10. So nearly 70% of mark comes from these core subjects. You see, economy average if you take 18 to 19, polity 14, 15, geography 10, 11, environment 11, 12, history and culture 17 to 20 you get, science and tech 10, IR and current affairs almost 10. 70 to 75% is covered. Now, how are you going to integrate current affairs? In fact, half of economy and most of science and tech, environment, international relation questions are current linked. So you need to prepare current affairs subject wise here, not month wise. But in month wise also, you have polity related, history, geography related is there, right? So what I mean to say is subject wise you prepare, not month wise. But anyway, we have a separate current affair test also, including 20 tests, where what I'll do is I'll talk not only about the last 1 year, I take 15 months current affairs. Every month, we have one test series with 100 questions. So 15 such questions, 15 such tests, which means 1500 current affair questions from 15 months. Every month, 100. And then 5 tests comprehensive from entire 15 months. That another 500 questions. So 2000 questions I'm going to give you by the time you cover, by the time you reach May 10. So current affairs is separate test series. We have current affairs, which is integrated in our prelims sure test series program also, where month-wise we ask in the beginning sectional test, and then comprehensive we ask in the comprehensive actual test. So for each month, you need to link news to the syllabus topic. Economy, like if you get something related to fiscal data, digital infrastructure, missions. Similarly, environment, when you see conventions, species, schemes. Science and tech, when you see applications, materials, space, etc. International relation, if you see summits, groupings, treaties, come to that. Polity, if you see important bills, judgments, committees. History, if you see some anniversaries, heritages, which is coming in news. Even sports has re-entered UPSC's radar. 2 questions have came from sports in 2025 that they used to ask earlier before 2013. They used to ask a lot of questions. I think more questions used to come before 2011, before introduction of CSAT. Now, why many are failing? This is one question that I need to answer. You need to, not I need to answer, you need to ask yourself 2 questions. If you're failing, if you failed last year, did you solve 2011-25 previous year questions before your last attempt? If your answer is no, that's your answer for the question. Why did you fail? And did you study the main syllabus and previous year questions before touching prelims or the prelims test series? If not, and if you failed last year and that's what you're thinking about, what happened, this is your answer. Right? That's the reason for your repeated failure. So change that mistake. UPSC is testing, it's not mugging up, but conceptual clarity and the pattern familiarity. Prelims is all about identifying the pattern. The mains knowledge that we've acquired, they'll test in terms of logic, they'll test in terms of explanation, they'll test in terms of assertions, reasons, eliminations. But the knowledge ultimately came from that core subjects which you prepared for mains. Cool. That conceptual clarity is what is required. Then it's about pattern understanding, familiarity. Now let's come to the test series. See, your preparation must be validated through high quality test series that replicate UPSC standard, UPSC pattern. I told you I have a pattern workshop where I discuss, even though they have introduced a pattern in 2023, 2024 new pattern, which in itself can have multiple options. That probability also we need to take into consideration. That I'll give in my test also, but I'll mostly confine to whatever patterns UPSC asked. But in my pattern workshop, I'll separately discuss that. And you need to look at the pattern weightage, same as real exam. That is what you're going to see in my test series, our test series. And the question design, that should reflect the recent years, especially 23, 24, 25. That's why I discussed this much. And the subject and the current affair balance, it also should be similar to UPSC. That's the kind of test series that we are providing, and that's the kind of test series exactly you should be choosing wherever you are. And the explanations, it should focus on logic and elimination, not just answer keys or direct from the textbook. So you should attempt at least 15 full-length GS test. Sectional test is different, right? And then 10 CSAT test. If you're good in CSAT, maybe 5 is fine. And then 5 current affair only test. But I'm giving 40 GS test, including, I think, CSAT prelims to your program I've already shared in the previous video, and then 20 only current affair test. 15 current affair, 15 months, 100 questions each, 1500 questions, and 5 current affair test, comprehensive, 500 questions. So 2000 questions will cover. And every test must be followed by error log. You have to have an error log analysis also. Every week you should do that, what mistake you have done, whether in terms of factual problem, or when I'm marking, I'm creating problem, or understanding, or pattern recognition, topic wise revision. All these need to be done after every test. And then mains. Why mains matter? I've already told you. If you look at the recent data, even All India rank 1 who scored below 50% in mains. That means if you reach mains with consistent preparation, you're already competing at the top, right? And essay plus ethics together, 500 mark. You need to treat this as one option. Then your sociology or PABAD or whatever. And then the 3 GS paper. And many toppers score 140, 114. You see Sachin, I've done his podcast also. He was my student. Nilesh Goyal, who was sociology topper, he did very good in GS also, especially in these papers. Sachin was topper in GS. He scored 140, 140 range in his essay and ethics. So these two papers and optionals will decide your rank. So when you're preparing for prelims 2026, devote this 2 months also, November, December, for your some kind of essay preparation, some kind of ethics, and your optional foundation. From Jan, we can completely get into mains. So what is that integrated plan? November, December, now we have, you need to complete whatever topics left in mains. So complete that GS 1 to 4 mains, optional basics, essay, ethics practice, do that. And then Jan to Feb, that's where you continue the revision part, and then start prelims focus prelims, PYQs, core subjects, and then March, April, May, full prelim cycle. That's the 3-month intensive cycle. You'll be with me and I'll be guiding you. So there you'll be taking test discussions, error logs, CSAT drills, and mock drills, and the pattern workshops and pattern recognition. All these need to be done. And after that, you have to make sure that you'll clear prelims. From June onwards, immediate transition to mains answer writing. So the goal is to qualify prelims and mains in the same year. It's not that I clear prelims this year, start preparing for mains next year, and then again, I won't clear mains because I have only 3 months, and then I need to write a prelims again, all these difficulties and tension, and then next year I'll try to clear. No, it won't work. It has to be like this, integrated, and it has to be like this. Cool. So what's the mindset for your UPSC 2026? Stop preparing just for clearing prelims. Even if you have not cleared prelims last year, previous year, don't think that let me clear prelims. No, there is of no use after clearing prelims. You won't clear mains. I told you why you did not clear prelims last 2 years? Because of this mistake, that you have not prepared for mains, integrated approach. That's why when you got that assertion reason, you got confused, you got stuck. The explanation question, you're getting stuck. But if you have done the integrated preparation, you won't get stuck and you'll be doing really good. So you have to prepare to top the exam. It's not just for qualifying the prelims. If others can do it, you can also do it, but only if you prepare intelligently. That's why we always talk about the smart work beyond hard work. So you need to study your mains first, and then you focus on prelims. We have intensive 3-month prelim cycle, but that cycle starts from Jan, but March, April, May is the intensive 3-month. Master the question pattern, especially the recent years 23 to 25, whatever I've discussed now. Go to the previous video also and understand, and solve previous year questions if possible from 95 to 2005. GS, it is there, same only, at least 2011 to 2025. Not only the new pattern, but also the old thematic areas to at least understand the important topics and the favorite themes of UPSC. And join any standard test series and analyze every error. I welcome to my test series. That's different, and I've given the details in the previous program prelims sure video. And then mentorship, that's a premium mentorship that if you cannot afford, you just join the test series. So you always have a mentor or a peer group so that you'll stay accountable, right? Any mentor, even your friend also can be a mentor. Don't worry about that. Now, guys, UPSC may be unpredictable in paper design, but I've proved it, right? The patterns, the subject, 2000 questions, question repeated exactly like that in 2025. Patterns repeating. These are the patterns. Once you know that, you won't get stuck. You won't get confused at that time. So the pattern, the subjects, the topics, the logic, these are consistent over time. People say it's most unpredictable exam. That's not the case. It's predictable. The pattern you need to recognize. So if you can internalize these trends of UPSC, your preparation automatically becomes smarter. So from today onwards, remember 3 commitments that you're going to commit to me. If you have watched this video till now, then you're going to make this commitment to yourself, your family, and to me, that 15 years previous year questions, it's non-negotiable. Do it as early as possible. And mains linked subject study. Conceptual clarity is first. Only then you will be able to answer the assertion, reason, explanation questions. And then the pattern-based testing, error analysis, that should be a weekly habit for you. So follow the system sincerely for 6 months, next 180 days. And you won't just qualify prelims 2026. You will enter the mains with confidence and control. Believe in yourself, plan precisely, execute daily. And when the result comes, your name will be there on the list. And guys, all the best for your 2026 prelims and mains. And I see your success. So I hope you got some value from this session for the time that you have spent. Part 1, part 2, complete, my guidance. This is something which I give it to my premium mentorship students, but I thought I'll discuss that in the open session. So give extreme value to that. If you have watched till now, then you should get benefit out of it. And if you're looking for any mentorship or test series or classes or anything, get in touch with us. See you there.